Hello, and thank you once again for tuning in to Carl Nespoli is Dropping Names, where some names you may recognize and others you may not. I have discussions with fellow skydivers, stunt people, actors, and ordinary people from all walks of life, where we discuss everything and anything, with the exception, of course, of politics and religion. We don't mess with that. My hopes is to educate, entertain, and to motivate others. And if you like what you see, then hit the like and share button. It encourages me to put out more content like this. I'm also open to your comments, both positive and negative, and your suggestions as well to things that you would like to hear on future podcasts. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my buddy who you may know by name, some of you, but you've definitely seen his work. My buddy, I've been looking forward to this guy. He's my inspiration, Zach Gowen. Look,
Carl,
you son of a gun, you.
come on, man. What are we talking about?
Oh my God. I'm gonna start this interview completely different because I usually start off saying, how'd you start, but I had part of that. And you know, I was I always talk about you. And so I want to educate whoever's listening um about how we first met, if it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I think it's great that you have a podcast.
Oh man,
We
thank
have
you.
been waiting years for this. You have all
Absolutely.
of the stories in the world. You have worked with all of the biggest stars in the world. You have all this experience that the public needs to hear. So finally,
Absolutely.
it's getting done. I'm happy about that, and thank you for having me, and thank you for thinking of me.
Oh my
As
God, yeah.
I think that's the most quoted phrase that I send to you, which is "Thank you for thinking of me," uh,
Always. Yeah.
because you always are. In terms of my journey into the movie business, into the stunts, man, that
I'm
was
gonna take it over there.
yeah,
Okay.
that was all you.
So, um, I was doing a Civil War movie called War Flowers in Detroit, where you are from. And I remember you walked into my office and you said that you were a wrestler. At that time, I think you were a professional or just getting into it, but you also said that you were interested in stunt work. And you were wearing pants and you had limped in. So me with my cocky attitude, I said, well, you're probably not a good stunt man because with that limp. Then you had proceeded to tell me that you lost your leg to cancer. I think you were 8
That's right.
years old.
Yeah.
And that just got me, brother. And um, I saw the dedication in your eyes. It wasn't out of sympathy, but I said to myself, this guy is getting on my movie. And the director and I, we were a little bit, we were bumping heads. And I said, listen, I've got this kid in my office where we could possibly do a scene where we blow his leg off. And the director, who I'm not going to mention, goes, Carl, you're the stunt coordinator. I'm the director. Don't direct my movie. Let me see the footage. So I called up stuntman Bonsai, Danny Mays. I said, listen, get Zach over to the house, tether his leg to the grass, blow him the other way. And it was unbelievable. And I asked you if you can act. And you weren't sure, but the scene that you did, Zach, that scream that you did, I mean, I shaved my arms, but I got chills. Whatever hair, I mean, you blew it out of the water. And I'm not just saying that. And so I just said to myself, I just witnessed a stuntman and an actor, born right in front of me. It was amazing. And so I talk about you quite a bit.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go into everything else, but that's how you and I met. And you've been inspiring me ever since.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Well, that came at a very critical time in my life. Because as you know, I've been a professional wrestler since I was 18. I'm the world's first one-legged WWE superstar.
Yeah.
I got to wrestle with Hulk Hogan. I got to wrestle with the Big Show, with Vince McMahon, with, the who's who in the wrestling business, guys,
Yes.
icons that I grew up watching and idolizing on television.
Yeah.
At 19, 20 years old, I found myself in the middle of the ring with all of these guys doing live television weekly,
Yeah.
in front of a worldwide audience. And so I
Yeah.
had to learn on the fly in terms of like how to cheat to a camera or how to emote through my face or acting, as you call it.
Yes.
That was all just that out of necessity. That was born out of necessity in terms of trying to portray the story or connect with the audience of the WWE universe.
Right.
And then when we met, it was at a very critical time in my life because I had just gotten sober. I left WWE, then I crashed and burned for a number of years, and so when we met, it was at a turning point in my life, and it was just serendipitous that I ran into Dan Lemieux, who was stuntman for many many years, who I'd known since I was a kid. Dan connected me with you, and then this whole new world opened up for me, and it couldn't have come at a better time for me. So when you
Uh,
when you met me, I was bright-eyed and I was motivated, and it was just almost miraculous that I made this decision to change my entire life. And then right after this happens, all of these opportunities just start happening, which really reaffirmed my belief spiritually,
yeah.
that I was on the right path, and that was just it was very so beyond the work or the paycheck or doing the fun stunts on set. There was also another level of I'm on the right path, on a macro level, so to speak, and so that was awesome for me.
So I had watched a couple of your interviews. You're very, very open about the dark times, and I want to touch on that because now you do motivational speaking,
Yeah.
and I mean, you know, your life is out there to educate and to also motivate, and so I'd like to also talk with that because a lot of people don't talk about their past, but you kind of embrace it and well, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, well, I have to embrace it because I can't change it. And so for me, there's two options, which makes it very, very easy. I call myself the one-legged Forrest Gump. Like I'm not very bright, but I find myself in these extraordinary positions sometimes in life. And for me, there's two options, which is I can sit on my couch and I can feel sorry for myself about all the injustices, and all of these bad things that have happened to me, or I can embrace my past, like you said,
Yeah.
and use my some of the dark times as a tool, to help other people who may just be stepping into those dark times, who may be in those dark times, or maybe in the future going to go through some challenges. And the message is very simple, which is that life isn't about what happens to us. Life is about how we respond to what happens to. It's
Yes.
all in the response. It's all
Yeah.
in our perception. It's all in how we look at things. It's all in our actions based on the things that have happened to us. That's going to determine whether, okay, on the surface, drug addiction and cancer look like really, 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 really bad things.
Yeah.
For me, I wouldn't have the quality of life that I live now without going through those trials. We
Right.
can't have
Right.
success without pain. We can't have achievements without setbacks. We have to learn these internal, principles, so that we can apply them every day. And that's the overall message that I have with all of my audience, mostly with high school students, with
Yeah.
high school teachers, with high school students' parents, who
Wow.
are really in the thick of it right now. And so, to me, it's just a blessing to be able to have another platform. I mean, gosh, how many platforms is God going to give me in my life? But it's another platform for me to connect with an audience, ideally to carry a message that's going to be beneficial and helpful for them.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So it seems like it was almost planned for you to go down, for you to talk about your journey coming back, which is helping I mean, I see you traveling all over,
Yeah.
business class, first class. You're traveling all over to speak. You're like a one-legged Tony Robbins. I mean, you're a motivated, and the athleticism that you have with, I can't even call it. I mean, it's not a limitation. I mean, I've been a professional stuntman 28 years. None of the stuff that I witnessed with you would I do. I mean, honestly, I'm very limited with my present employment. And folks, if you're watching this, just Zach Gowen, just go to YouTube. You're going to see a whole, a bunch of his performances. You will be amazed at what you're going to cringe. I mean, just check him out. Um, but what I witnessed, the pain that you either sold or you went through, unbelievable. I mean, I feel like I'm a wimp next to the things that you did, with the exception of maybe like a stair fall or your car hit. None of the hits that I ever took was anything like yours. Can you elaborate on that? How you're still intact?
Yeah, well, I feel great. I'm 41. And thanks to DDP yoga, keeping keeping my body nice and limber, man. And that's been a godsend. I've been doing that for over 10 years.
Wow.
And so when I started, go to ddpyoga.com, check out all the videos. I'm not a paid spokesperson. I'm just sharing my experience. This is what worked for me. Um, it's a mixture of body weight exercises, a mixture of old school like rehabilitation techniques,
Mhm.
and traditional yoga, just all like put in a blender and mix into one. And so it's a total fitness program, but more than that, for me, it alleviates all of the pain in my body. So I'm
Wow.
sitting here now at 41, having one leg since I was 8 years old, a professional wrestler for 22 years, and someone who travels. And as you know, it's not so much the work that beats our bodies up, it's the travel.
Yes.
The lugging
Yes.
through the airports, the not sleeping, the sitting here in one position for 4, 5, 6 hours, the carrying of the 40-pound bag. That, now imagine doing all of that on one leg. So for me,
Unbelievable. No.
that is where my body gets beat up the most, is through the travel. But through all of that, to my DDP yoga regimen, I'm sitting here at 41 pain free. And so I've no, thank God, knock on wood, no major surgeries, no herniated disc. Neck is good, back is good, hips are good, knee is good.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a father, a husband. I met your children. They're all great looking. And I mean, Zach, where you came from to where you are now. And I'd like to go back to when you were 8 years old, if you wouldn't mind touching on that, and how that all came about, and what your life at that time was like, and then afterwards, if you wouldn't mind, if it's
No, I
not.
don't. Of course, I don't mind at all. My life, they called me, my nickname was Zach the Maniac. I didn't walk anywhere. It was running, it was jumping, it was. I mean, you can see it in my wrestling. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the foundation of kind of where I come from. Just a very energetic, athletic kid.
yeah.
Um, and one day I sprained my knee playing soccer at 8 years old. What caused the sprain was a tumor growing on my femur, right above my left kneecap.
Oh,
But who would suspect that? So it was just treated as a sprained knee over the course of 7, 8, 9 months. Obviously, my leg wouldn't heal. In fact, it got worse and worse and worse, and we couldn't figure out what was going on until the doctors and surgeons did a biopsy, and they discovered the cancerous tumor. Um, and when that happened, I mean, my whole world just in an instant just
yeah.
shifted, because they said, "Listen, this thing has been in Zach's leg for probably over a year now,
Oh,
and our fear is that it has spread to the rest of his body,
yeah,
based on the amount of time that this thing has been in his leg." So what we're going to do is we're going to amputate. We have to amputate fast. and we're just gonna hope and pray that it hasn't spread.
Yeah.
Uh, and just in case it has, we're gonna they put me on a chemotherapy protocol for the following year. So once the diagnosis happened, amputation happened with like maybe a week or two after that,
Oh,
and then I was on chemotherapy for a year at Children's Hospital. So I mean, my whole world got turned upside down completely. And it, not so much for me, but for the people that cared about me, my family, my friends, you know. And I think back on that time and I think about how strong my mother was, who, you know, in my opinion, she's a freaking superhero. What she's been able to do with her life from where she came from with her limited resources to the life that she gets to live now is it's absolutely remarkable. And my story pales in comparison to hers.
wow.
So my mom's my hero. And I think all the strength that I get has to come from her. But you know, for her, she was pregnant at the time with my brother, single mother, you know, going to school, working full time, trying to keep a roof over her head, and her oldest baby boy is battling cancer, leg amputation, all of that, and she's going at it alone, you know.
Right,
And
right.
so that's just to me, that's just miraculous.
When she saw you work in one of those huge matches, which once again I encourage you, go to YouTube. You will be amazed. His mom makes an appearance on one of his televised uh, biggest matches, one of the biggest names in wrestling. And but you know, I know a lot of that was she had confidence in what you were doing, but when she saw you take those big hits, a mother who you know carried you for 9 months and was your protector, she had to go, "Oh, that's my boy," because you got the crap kicked out of you.
Yeah.
Biggest name in both UFC and you know the you know wrestling world, and it looked like he gave you no sympathy.
Yeah. What was funny was um my mom never really embraced my wrestling career,
Yeah,
but she didn't dissuade me because she saw how passionate I was about it.
yeah,
And when we did that at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit,
yeah,
um, she hops the rail, and she was first of all she was an absolute natural. She had to cut a promo earlier in the night. She cut this beautiful promo. Her acting, you talk about her acting was so good
yeah.
in that segment. The people to this day, 20 years later, come up to me and they ask me if that was my real mom or not, because they
Right.
assumed that she was an actress based on how good she was. And I'm like, yeah, that's my mom. But when she hopped the rail, the first thing she said to me under her breath, so the camera didn't pick it up, she said, "Zachary, you're so stupid. Why are you doing this?" Like she started yelling at me. Like she wasn't concerned for my health. She knew I was okay because she knew I was pretty tough. But she
Right.
was like she started yelling at me because of what she just witnessed in front, you know. But
Yep.
her acting was amazing, and she's always been at the minimum supportive. Never embraced wrestling.
Right.
Not always sat me down and said, "Hey Zach, when are you going to get a real job?" You know, that sort of
Sure.
conversation. But she never said I couldn't do it or told me not to do it, which
Sure.
I appreciate.
So, how do you feel knowing that, you know, with the big names out there, you know, the obvious names out there, you're kind of you're up there. I mean, you're you know known in the wrestling world. I mean, you know, diehard fans or just you know casual fans, you're up there with the legendary. I mean, I don't think that you know exaggerating. I mean, that's got to be you know from you you know having that passion to accomplishing it to hitting the biggest stage and you know TV show to now being up there and then recognized. I mean, What is that like?
I don't really think about it too much, to be honest. I think of myself more as a husband and a father first. Uh,
Right,
because
right.
that's my day to day.
Sure.
That's the reality that I live in, which I'm trying to raise four decent human beings
Yeah.
and trying to cultivate a healthy marriage with my wife, you know.
Right, right.
And so what I've come to accept in terms of wrestling, my perspective on it has changed a lot over the years. And what it is now is I'm so very grateful
Yeah,
for the opportunities that I've had in terms of the people that I've gotten to work with, um, the places that I've gotten to see all over the world, not just the United States, but
yeah,
Japan, Mexico, Germany, you name it. Um, and most importantly, the connection that I've made with the fans and creating these moments. Because when I was a fan, and I'm still a fan, but when I was a kid, there were certain moments that are just burned into my brain forever through the medium of professional wrestling. And now when I interact with fans, they share stories of like, hey man, when I was 8 years old and I saw that match and your mother was there, that was the most amazing. It's I've been able to create special moments for people, the same way that moments other wrestlers created for me when I was a kid.
that's
And
awesome.
so to me, that's just like, man, I'm just incredibly grateful. That's the only word that really comes to mind.
So how come they never came out with a Zach Gowen doll? That
They
would be so
listen
cool.
that and I'm still like having those conversations with the manufacturers and the powers that be and all of that. I think it would sell because simply based on the fact that it's so unique. There would be no other doll made like that or action
Right,
figure. And
right.
so it might be a cost issue because they'd have to recast everything and so
Sure.
production wise and all that kind of stuff. I'm not really sure, but I would love to have one for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, just so my kids could play with it.
But you brought the, I'm not going to say limitations because you've performed, like every other wrestler, but you know, I say some of these podcasts I'd like to educate and then motivate you, you know, I mean, you give motivation or encouragement to someone that maybe is missing one limb or two limbs. Now, I've seen others in smaller venues, um, and it's kind of a more of a, it's not a serious match where yours was a legitimate broadcast match that they weren't putting it in your best light. Um, but I think that certainly you know are the face of encouraging people, with similar or maybe even worse that has that same passion. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's needed. We need it in today's society more than ever.
yeah,
People need encouragement. People need motivation. People need connection more than ever, man. Coming out of COVID, working with these students and working with these teachers was a whole different deal. It was night and day from what it was before. And I just see that as kind of a microcosm of what society is dealing with. And so the message is real simple. It's about what we can accomplish if we develop the ability to ask for help, because that's what's really missing, man. A lot of people have a hard time asking for help or saying I'm scared and I don't know what to do,
yeah,
based on the fear of what other people think about them. And if we can eliminate just a little bit of that, it's going to open up so much community and connection and power and strength that comes from that. And so I think the message is really important, and it's more pertinent now to me than it has been ever. And that's the message that I carry, whether it's in a wrestling ring or it's competing on American Ninja Warrior, or it's climbing a mountain, or it's in one of my talks. It's just to me, they're all platforms, but it's the same message, you
that's
know?
right. I didn't even touch on the American Ninja Warrior. I mean, that I wind up watching that. I didn't even know, prior. It's like, Zach, I'm like, what is this? Is there anything that this kid, you know, I I call you kid because I'm much older than you. But I'm like, there's nothing that this kid. I mean, have you skydived yet? Because I want to take you skydiving.
I have never skydived. I
Okay.
want to. We got to do
Okay.
that together.
All right. Done deal. Just
Yeah.
speak with the wife. I'll get you down safely.
Yes.
Uh, but yeah, speak about that. Speak about your competition and where how far did you get and how did you even get out there?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I applied for it. I
Okay.
remember that. Well, it started with a Facebook post. I just threw it up on Facebook because I had this thought, this idea of I want to compete on American Ninja Warrior, and I put it out into the world. And then a lot of the fans started encouraging me, saying, "Yeah, go for it, Zach. You can do it. You can do it." And because from their encouragement, I started believing that I could do it. So then I went to the website and I applied, and I just filled out the entire application, and they called me right away and they said, "But listen, um, we see that you wrestle and that you're an athlete, but we need footage of you doing actual ninja obstacles." And I said, no problem. So then I found a local ninja gym, not 20 minutes from my house. I show up there, I film it on my phone, I do some of the stuff, and I send it back in, and I get casted for the show. And in the middle of a night, a very cold night in Indianapolis, Indiana, um, 3 o'clock in the morning, because they film at night so they can edit the show.
Yes.
Otherwise, the sun would be all over
Hmm.
and
Yep.
so at 3 o'clock in the morning, man, I competed. I was
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning. Yeah. After sitting there all day. So the conditions weren't very ripe
Right.
for competition. And you could tell it was more of a television show than a competition at that point. But which was fine with me because I embraced the entertainment aspect of it, which a lot of the other athletes didn't. So when it was my turn to run, I was on stage kind of hamming it up, playing with the crowd a little bit.
That
And
was
I think
awesome.
the producers like that,
Yeah.
because this is good TV. Um,
Uh,
but I think there was 110 runners or competitors, and I made it in the top 50. And these are all two-legged competitors that train all year for this one event. I had about 6 weeks of training, and I'm doing it on one leg, and I got
that's
further than
awesome.
50% of them. So I counted that as a win. But the big win came when they aired on NBC, and 20 million people that week tuned in. Uh,
Yeah.
that got my message to a lot of people in terms of like the emails and the Facebook messages from, parents that have kids who are battling the same cancer I did,
Yeah.
and videos of those patients watching my run and like jumping up and down and just getting excited, and I'm like, oh, that's the real victory. That's the reason why I did it, you
Sure.
know. I didn't, when I was a kid, I was 8, 9, 10 years old. There was no representation of an amputee in any sort of athletic form, sport, media, television show, you name it. And
Yeah.
so I really felt like I was an alien or something was wrong with me or defective. So
Right.
the fact that
Right.
I could have these platforms and show these kids who are going through a similar experience that, hey, there are other people like you out in the world and it's okay. This isn't an end, it's a beginning.
Wow.
So what are we going to do?
Right. Right.
Huh.
I usually end with asking questions, but throughout this whole interview, um, you've answered all of them. And I know, or, hope someone or someone's family member or someone's, parent that has a child, son or daughter that maybe, facing what you had to face. And you have faced it all. And, in possibly relate to this and then find out find some kind of encouragement. Like I said, I can't even think of not of your questions to end with because like I said, this interview overwhelmed me. You know, I knew quite a bit about you. I knew the dark times and all, but I'm really, really, you know, psyched about this. And I want to give you the last couple of minutes of, you know, for you to just, um, you know, do what you do best. If there's anything that you want to say out there, just gonna hand it over to you, bro.
Yeah. Well, there's to kind of jump off what you're talking about, fundamentally at the baseline is hope. Like hope. Hope is something that's um it's I feel like it's harder to come by these days. And so if us doing this can give somebody hope, or the idea of what's happening now isn't going to last forever, or that there's a turning point, or that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and some kind of hope or encouragement to keep going, then that's the reason why we're doing this. I mean, that's it. All of my victories aren't my victories because my talents and my abilities are very limited, very, very, very limited. I am a result of a whole lot of people's investments in time, love, money, and energy. And ultimately, my victories are God's victories. So I can't really take credit
Amen.
for much. And
Amen.
that's the source of that's the source of everything for me. And as long as I walk that spiritual path and I do the best I can to grow in my relationship with God, and I've been doing that for over 14 years now, my life, and this is just my experience, but my life continually gets better and better and better. Does that mean I'm perfect? No. Does that mean that I don't stumble and fall? No. Does that mean I don't go through dark times, or I feel like, I go in the valleys? No, of course I do. But the difference now is I don't self-destruct and blow it up when I go into a valley. I know what to do. I understand that this is temporary. This too shall pass. I understand that I have the ability to reach out and say, I'm scared. I don't know what to do and I need help. I have the ability to receive help, and I have the ability to take action one day at a time. And so for me, that's the blueprint of a happy, joyous, and free life, one day at a time. And the more that I do that, the better my life gets.
That's so awesome. Bro, you know, I'm your biggest fan. I love
Yeah.
you like a brother. I just wanted to say that. And if anybody is watching, and hopefully there are, you know, many people, ZACH, Zach Gowen, Gowen. Go to YouTube and just give yourself an hour of just watching this man's accomplishments, and you'll become a, you know, a fan also, and love him just as much. Zach, you're the best. We're gonna do another movie together, but we're gonna be acting in it this time.
I'm down, man. I am so down for it.
Thank you, bro. Give my love to your wife and your children, and I'll see you hopefully at the next show.
Yeah, very soon. Thank you, Carl. Love you.
Love you too, buddy. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
And that concludes my interview with the legendary Zach Gowen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great night.